By attending a mountain bike skills clinic, I got a huge dose of reality of what it means to be an aging athlete. Here are the top 3 things I learned and why they matter to all of us. Hi, Rich Reese here for Club Caleb. I started riding bicycles on dirt trails in 1960, so by the time I attended the Kentucky Mountain Bike Association Skills Clinic, I had 58 years of experience of what is now called mountain biking. It wasn't called mountain biking when I was doing it. The sport hadn't even been invented yet. I was just trying to get to a friend's house. In a pre-event survey, and again on site, the organizers asked us what we hoped to get out of our attendance at this mountain bike skills clinic. I said I wasn't nearly as good a rider as I used to be, and I wanted to differentiate between the loss of performance that was due to aging and could not be recovered, and the loss of performance that could be recovered with instruction and practice. The clinic was promoted to new riders and riders with minimal experience. I had plenty of experience, but just because I'd been riding for decades didn't mean I'd been riding correctly for decades. I thought maybe my fundamentals could use some work, and maybe I'd learn some advanced skills. The first thing was a safety check, and the first drill on our safety check was to put on our helmets, leave the chin strap unfastened, turn our heads so that the helmet was facing the ground, and shake our heads. If the helmet stayed on, fine. If it fell off, there was a problem. Everybody's helmet stayed on, except mine. It fell to the ground with a thunk. It was not a big deal. In my haste to join the group, I had not tightened the strap that runs below my external occipital protuberance, and the helmet fell off. Not a problem. 10 seconds, it was fixed, and I got my initial embarrassment out of the way early in the day. The event ran from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., so I had plenty of other opportunities for embarrassment, but I also had opportunity to do things well. Regardless of my performance level, our instructors, Kate and Danielle, were supportive. We spent the day working on all the things that mountain biking entails: starting, stopping, turning, hopping, launching, landing, the usual stuff. And in the midst of doing things that I've been doing for decades, I learned 3 things. First, my flexibility is good for my age, but that's only because people my age have flexibility that is terrible. Mine is simply bad. Years of yoga have helped, but I still have issues. I have calcium deposits in my cervical spine. I have bone chips and inflammation in my joints. I have minor arthritis. I have the consequence of broken bones, one of which is my right shoulder is 1.5 inches lower than my left shoulder, and my right shoulder has a very limited range of motion. My doctor sent me to physical therapy last year, and they work on all kinds of things. One example is they worked on my ankles. It was wonderful, and they made great progress. And I left the physical therapy clinic, and I was walking across the parking lot all floppy-footed, and I thought, this is great. And it lasted all the way across the parking lot until I got in the truck and got home, and my ankles were stiffened up once again. The skills clinic really pointed out the loss of flexibility that I had. If I went to bed one night with the flexibility I had when I was 30 and woke up the next morning with the flexibility I had when I was 60, I would have raced to the emergency room. But it doesn't happen that way. Flexibility seeps away imperceptibly, and we don't notice it until our mountain bike skills instructor calls upon us to do something that we've done for years and find we can no longer do. Even the flexibility lost to broken bones isn't immediately apparent and fully appreciated. You break a bone, 6 weeks later the cast or the sling or the brace comes off, and you have no range of motion, you have no flexibility. You go to physical therapy, and several weeks later you think, this is it, I got it all back. But did you really? In my experience, the answer is no. Worse yet, 10 or 20 years later, the loss of flexibility from that fracture is greater than the loss of flexibility from the unaffected parts due to normal aging. The second thing I found out is that mountain biking requires power moves, lots of them. We did a video on power and strength. In it, we noted that most of what we do requires power, and that power fades more quickly than strength after age 50. Positioning a mountain bike requires power moves, whether it's a wheelie or a manual or a drop-in or a step-up. And this isn't true just on technical trails. It's true on every trail, everywhere, all the time. The rider is constantly using power, not strength, to control the mountain bike. Mountain biking is not unique in this. Kayaking, paddleboarding, windsurfing, rock climbing, they all require power moves. In fact, it's hard to think of a sport or fitness activity that does not rely on power. As discussed in that other video, my power is down, way down. When I have to do a power move, whether it's thrust the bike forward or loft the rear wheel, I just don't have the power that I need to do those things. The third thing I learned, and quite possibly the most important, is I can get better with instruction and practice. The instruction I got at the clinic, the practice comes on every ride that I do from here on out. Will I ever be as good as I once was? Nope. But I can get better. I'm nowhere near my age-adjusted peak performance in mountain biking or any other activity that I perform. My thanks to the Kentucky Mountain Bike Association Bluegrass chapter for putting on the skills clinic. It was well organized, friendly, laid back. It was just a great event, and they did a terrific job, and I thank them for that. My thanks also again to instructors Kate and Danielle for being so good at what you do. If you found this video helpful, click on the like button. If you want, go ahead and subscribe, and once you subscribe, click the little bell so that you're notified when new videos are posted. Our Patreon supporters will get my insights in using this information when selecting sporting equipment. Equipment is expensive, it's highly individualized, and it should meet our needs. We have to understand our needs and how equipment matches to that to get the best out of our investment. Today's question, have you used a coach or a skills clinic to assess your performance as you age? If so, what did you find out? If not, would you consider doing so now that you've watched this video? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for this video. I'm Rich Reese. Thanks for joining me.